Hi, welcome to Racehouse with me, Joe Lee.
And me, Darren Reeves.
It's a special episode today because we have a very special guest to talk about F1 stories. And I think we've talked about many an episode when people go to the races, they have these amazing stories. It's an amazing weekend wherever you're sat. If it's up in the grandstands, if you're up on a hill, or if you're in the Paddock Club, down the pit lane, you come back with amazing experiences. And also the stuff that you're doing in town. If you're staying in Budapest or if you're in Suzuka or somewhere or Abu Dhabi, you come away with these amazing things. And the cast of characters, if you work there long enough, as we have, Darren, at F1 6-7 years now, you do meet this recurrent cast of characters who kind of form part of F1, and the kind of the craziness of the world that you kind of start to inhabit, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's very crazy, Joe. I've been wrapped up in this world since the turn of the century, actually, since 2000.
What, 1900?
With it, that's it. Yeah, it's the beard. The beard is going grey. It's really interesting the types of people that you come across, because Formula One isn't just about 20 drivers; it's about thousands of people that are in the circus that is Formula One. And you and I have been a big part of that, Joe, over the last 6-7 years. And the guest we're going to bring on is a lot longer than that.
Well, would you like to do an intro for our esteemed guest?
Well, I'd like to introduce you to a really good friend of mine who I've got to know personally as a friend and also professionally in Formula One, and his name is Charlie Feather. Let's bring Charlie into the podcast.
Hey! Polite ripple.
Hi, Charlie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Darren. How are you? How are you, mate?
Yeah.
Joe, good to see you.
Hey, Charlie. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome, Charlie. It's I'm recovering from a crazy few weeks of traveling all around the world, and some of it is your fault, Charlie, and a lot of my life has been Joe's fault for the last few years as well. So between the two of you,
Good,
I've
you're
got
in the
a lot
middle,
of.
then.
It is good I'm in the middle, yeah. Between the two of you, I've got a lot to thank you for and a lot to blame you both for as well. But yeah, Charlie, it's great to have you on here, and I've wanted to do this for a few months actually. Since Joe and I started Racehouse, I was thinking, who could we get on? Who we could chat about Formula One and the world of Formula One. And you were the first person that came to mind, Charlie. So
you're the first person available.
That's what it is.
You're short of mates, eh? Is that it?
Well, maybe we can start, Charlie. I mean, with obviously we have such a big love for F1. When did you first get your love for Formula One?
I think probably when I was actually it was probably later on in life, when I was sort of in my 20s, and I went to Silverstone a few times, and I just loved the sort of the buzz of the place and what was going on, and I sort of I love the sort of what was going on around the actual racing more than anything. The racing side of it, I know Darren's passionate about all that. I love all the razzmatazz that goes with it. Hence why we then started this party brand in Formula One for many years. But that was really what attracted me to it in the first place. Was there's so much going on, and it was such an alive event.
No, Charlie, that's really interesting, because it's exactly, I know nothing about cars basically, but what I do love is I love competition and I love sport and I love entertainment. And the thing that attracted me was just the scale of what I could see on television. Whether you're looking at the sponsorship, whether you're looking, at the pit girls holding the boards as a teenager or whatever it was just like, how does this all happen? And so I totally and utterly understand why that. The word I used a minute ago was circus of Formula One. It's not just 20 drivers; it's thousands of people that make this the greatest show on earth.
With the circus as well, it's all about entertainment. Sorry to jump in, but you talked about entertainment and a party brand. So what did you bring to Formula One then, Charlie?
Well, so actually, funny enough, unbeknown to us until recently, Darren and I met in Monaco in 2001. Actually, maybe it was 2000. And
2000, yeah.
I did the first ever Grand Prix Ball in Monaco in that year, and we had Bjorn again as one of the bands performing at the ball, and Darren was playing the keyboards for Bjorn again. And obviously, I didn't know him at the time, never met him at the time, and then we met, a couple of years ago, and we found that we had this connection that we'd had 20 odd years ago, but we both hadn't realised that, which was quite spooky, really. And
well, I think we met, didn't we?
now he's
Both
in my life.
we met carrying a set of golf clubs each at Old Thorns Golf Club, didn't we? On a charity day
Yes.
for Portsmouth Football Club.
That's right.
And the lads had said to me, "You must meet our buddy Charlie. He does stuff in Formula One." Apparently, they were saying to Charlie, "You must meet our buddy Darren. He does stuff in Formula One." And
there was one big difference. Darren's very good at golf, and I'm crap.
Well, me and you are going to get on, Charlie, very well. Because, I'm good at the 19th hole, probably as you are as well. But your first Grand Prix Ball was in Monaco then. And,
actually, the first one was actually at Silverstone at Stowe School. And my business partner, who's my greatest friend, a chap called Paul Marshall, we'd gone up to Silverstone for a meeting to do something with hospitality or something. And he went, he said, let's drop in at my old school and I'll show you it. It's Stowe School, which is on the doorstep of Silverstone. And it's I don't know if you've ever been to Stowe, but it's the most beautiful, beautiful building, beautiful grounds. And anyway, we stood on the south front steps overlooking the lake and beautiful vista of all these beautiful, buildings in the background.
Did he propose?
Well,
it sounds like
he may as well have done, because that was where the Grand Prix Ball was born. And we said, look, we're missing a trick here. I said, you've got all this going on a mile up the road, all this, this glamorous industry of Formula One, and they don't do any parties. It's crazy. There's nothing going on for the sponsors or the, the VIPs. So we created the Grand Prix Ball, and Silverstone was the first one in 1997 at Stowe. We had Jules Holland came and performed. He brought with him Ruby Turner, and she was amazing. And we were very wet behind the ears in those days. We did everything on the back of a fag packet, really, and we didn't really know what we were doing, but we pulled it off, the first one, and we grew it from there. And we then created the ball at Monaco, Montreal, Indianapolis for a few years, Hockenheim. We did one in Hockenheim, Milan, and it was a great brand, and we had a lot of fun, and we had some incredible entertainers, artists come and perform for us, and it was a great event, because there are a lot of people in Formula One, and particularly sponsors, who were there for a weekend, and they loved going to a big glamorous party. And that's exactly what it was. It was a glamorous party.
Well, Charlie, the thing that I remember in the 90s is I would go to Silverstone every year and have a seat in the grandstands, whether on Club Corner or Stowe Corner or on the start-finish straight. And I remember every month I would buy Formula One Racing magazine, and I would read this thing from cover to cover, and I would see these adverts for the Grand Prix Ball at Stowe School. And I just looked at it as a budding musician, 20-something-year-old, trying to build my career. I remember looking at it going, how do you get to these events? How can I possibly perform at these events? How, I don't know anyone. And it's amazing, because I just remember seeing it, and it was in the 90s, so it could well have been the first or second one you did, but I just paid real attention to it,
Mate,
not knowing anything at the time.
You should have dialed the number on the advert and bought a ticket.
You're absolutely right, Charlie.
Well, what's funny now is that you dreamt of being a guest. Working in events, I still dream of being a guest, because now we're building these events and we create these events, and so you see the loading bay more than you do the drinks reception. But it's great that you took that brand and you built it up and you went worldwide with it, which is it's amazing.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go on, Charlie. Tell me.
I interrupted you. You carry on, Joe. Sorry.
No, I mean, you built this amazing brand, but I mean, working in events as Darren and I do, it's a lot of hard work, especially the logistics of F1, because this is the circus tent essentially, which sucks up everything, the energy, or the people's involvement and all the attention and focus, and then it pops up and goes into another place and plonks down.
Yeah.
It is a huge logistical challenge. What kind of challenges did you face when you were doing this worldwide?
We had the challenges were that we had to make it the best event that you could possibly want to come to, and therefore we would always have a big name artist come and perform. We would have a well-known international chef doing all the catering. The likes of Gordon Ramsay and people like that would come and do all the food for us. Some of the artists we've had perform, we've had Lionel Richie, Sting, we even had Beyonce at Silverstone one year.
Charlie, tell us the story about Beyonce.
Oh my God. Yeah. So this was just, I mean, it was in the early days of Beyonce before she became the big Beyonce that we all know now. She must have just left Destiny's Child, I think. But she was still a fortune. And anyway, we had this sponsor who was keen to have Beyonce at the Grand Prix Ball. So, she was a lot of money, and the rider for her to come over from the States with all her crew was just, I mean, huge. Never seen anything like it. Anyway, but she arrived, and I never forget, we had a big marquee up on the north front of the Stowe School. Beautiful place, and it was we started off. We had Nobu doing sushi as people arrived on the lawn. It was fantastic. We had the stage. We had the whole of the London Philharmonic Orchestra performing while people were having drinks, and all building up to the big Beyonce moment. Anyway, she arrived, and it had started to rain. I mean, when I say rain, it was literally stair rods coming down. And this big limo pulled up at the back of the marquee, and I sort of wandered out with my umbrella to sort of go and greet Beyonce. And anyway, I just arrived at the car door, and the passenger door opened, and this enormous chap got out. And he just looked at me, and he went, he said, "Miss Beyonce will not be getting out of the vehicle." And I went, "Oh." I said, "Well, why is that then?" And he said, "Well, because one or two things needs to happen." And I said, "Right, what's that?" He said, "One is it either stops raining, or you build a walkway to the car." So I said, I looked at the sky, and I went, "Well, there's no chance of it stopping raining." So and we had to build. Luckily, some marquee people were still hanging around.
I was about to say, how did you do that? So you had the marquee guys. Okay.
45 minutes later, we built a covered walkway, and I'm talking about, it was 20 yards to walk. That's all it was. It was 20 yards. And I had this big umbrella. Anyway, we built this thing over the car. And after we'd done that, then she stepped out and walked in. And that was the start of the Beyonce night.
Did she smash it? Did she perform well?
She was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, yeah, amazing. And the whole show, with all the dancers and everything, because we had this massive stage, because we'd had the Philharmonic on it earlier. It was spectacular. Yeah, it was great. And those were, the types of events we wanted to create for people, because it was, and we had, lots of the Formula One sponsors at the time would support it, and they'd want to sponsor it. There was a McLaren sponsor called Finlandia Vodka. I mean, completely the wrong fit for McLaren. They had a bunch of Finns who just wanted to go partying. And of course, McLaren was a very, tight ship run by Ron Dennis at the time. And it was, very much about the motor racing, and that was it. And they had Finlandia Vodka as one of their sponsors who just wanted to go partying. Anyway, it was great because we had the ball, and they supported that hugely for many years. And they'd arrive with, with pallet loads of vodka being delivered and to all these events, and they'd bring all the mixologists, and it was great fun. They were a wonderful lot to have alongside us for many years.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Finlander, if you're listening, then Racehouse could do with a vodka sponsor.
We definitely could.
We've got a few bottles left, mate.
Do you know, it's interesting about all the sponsorships in Formula One over the years, because obviously cigarette sponsorship was huge, wasn't it, through the 70s and 80s?
Yeah.
And obviously we're now talking about alcohol sponsorship, but the two things just do not fit in the world of driving at all, do they? However, you know, they do fit into the world of partying at Formula One. You know, and ultimately there's only 20 people really driving at these events. Everybody else is in a taxi or an Uber. Or I'm promoting again, Joe, another sponsor for us. You know, or in fact, as Joe and I were, which was golf buggies and electric scooters, weren't we, in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago? So you know, the alcohol is a huge part of the event.
Yeah. Well, we were very fortunate as well in that Eddie Jordan was a huge help to us and a big part of the Grand Prix Ball, and I think without Eddie's help and involvement, we probably couldn't have carried off pretty much.
How did you meet Eddie, Charlie?
So I met Eddie. Eddie was my wife at the time. Worked in Formula One. She used to have an events business. They used to run the hospitality for Philip Morris, and so she'd been in Formula One for quite a while, and she's Irish and was great mates with Eddie. So I was introduced to EJ through Ray, and we became great mates. And he's actually godfather to one of our kids, and he was. And of course, in those days, the Jordan Grand Prix team was the rock and roll team of Formula One. You know, Eddie's was famous for the post-race concerts that he put on at Silverstone after the race, and with Damon Hill on the guitar and Johnny Herbert up on the stage, and they were great days, and I guess we sort of followed on from that really in terms of by creating something a little bit more glamorous. And Eddie would always come along with his set of drums. It's before he set up his band, the Robbers, and we'd always have to set up an extra set of drums alongside whoever was performing. I mean, one year we had the Stereophonics, and of course they're big stage, and we got Eddie's drum kit set up next to the Stereophonics drummer, and drumming away, and little did he know we turned down the volume on his drum set. Yeah, and he played. We had the Stranglers one year. They came and played. He played with the Stranglers, wow. and then a bit later on, he'd formed the band, and they'd come and play at pretty well all our events as well. But in fact, one year, when was it? I think it was 2008. We did a charity cricket match, the Eddie Jordan 11 against the Alan Lamb 11. On the cricket pitch at Stowe on the Saturday of the British Grand Prix, and it was hilarious. I mean, Eddie came into bat, Irish, never played cricket in his life, scored 50 runs.
Amazing.
And Lammy brought all the South Africa touring at the time, and doing a test tour in the summer, and a few of the players had the weekend off, and he brought 6 of the South African test side to come and play in this game, and it was fantastic. And then we had that night we had George Benson played at the Ball, and it was they were great days, they were, because there was a lot of fun. And another thing we had, we raised a lot of money at these events for various charities, mainly for the CLIC, which is Cancer and Leukemia in Children, which was the charity that Eddie was the patron of. And we raised a lot of money over the years from these events. I think we raised over 12 million quid over that period of time. So yeah, they were great days. I missed them. I missed them a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, you say they're great days, and you say that you had lots of fun, but I know, and Joe knows as well, that running events, organizing events, just working at events is a very, very stressful time as well. So, all these stories, I'm sure, and especially the Beyonce one and so on, I'm sure came at the time with lots of stress and hassle. But it's amazing what I've noticed. And Joe, when you meet Charlie and see him at these events, you'll see he is the center of the party, and he is there. He was, I know he's the one with Beyonce and the one with James Brown and the one with all these people running around and just being that face of it. And what you bring, Charlie, is you just bring enjoyment into the room. And it's a real quality to have when I know you're under great stress, I'm sure, at the time. But looking back at it and being nostalgic, it's like looking at holiday photographs, isn't it? With the kids. The photos are great, but
It's
at the
why I
time,
look
it's
so
proper
knackered,
stress.
mate.
Well, that's a good question to lead into. I mean, how do you cope with that? Because you're putting these events on, you're selling tickets, so there's a lot of stress in the involvement, trying to get the artists booked if you're kind of hinging on them as well to an extent. But there's also the risk as well. You've got financial risk there. You've got all sorts of supply risk. You've got the actual all these insurance and all the invisible things. You've got to tick off. How do you kind of approach that and deal with that?
Well, I mentioned my business partner, Paul Marshall, who was probably the best salesman I've ever come across in my life. He was fantastic, and he would just sell the event like it was just his bag. He was brilliant at it, and I think without him, I could never have done it anyway. And the two of us were, as I said, we probably started off on the back of a fag packet, and we chanced a lot of it, and we took massive risks, and but the rewards became very good in the end. And had we not taken the risk, we would never have got to where we got. But yes, you're right, Joe. We would have to, before we'd even got in a penny, we'd have to contract with, venues, marquee companies, the artists. And that's outlaying a lot of money before you've even got £1 back. But fortunately, it was something that people wanted to come to, people wanted to be involved with. As I said, a lot of the sponsors of the teams bought tables and participated, and so it all worked eventually. But you're right. The outlay at the start was particularly stressful because you don't know whether you're going to make any money. And the first ball we did at Stowe, we lost. I think we lost about 60 grand. But we created the event, so we knew we were probably going to take a loss. But then we knew if we made it good and created something new that was in Formula One, then it would then snowball, and it did. It just took off.
And Charlie, 60 grand, sounds like a lot of money, but ultimately, when you think about just marketing budgets of companies and any company within Formula One, that is, it's not a loss; it's an investment in the future. And so and when you look at the big picture, you did the right thing, but it's scary to think of losing those sums of money, as a loss. But no, mate.
Yeah, in those days as well, there wasn't the social media that we have now to sort of promote all these things. And as Darren alluded to earlier, the way we promoted the event, we take a page advert out in F1 racing or Autosport, and hope that people would read it and ring the office and book a ticket. That's how we did it. And it was, had we had social media that we have now, it would have been very different. But
so you're tempted to get back into it? Are you tempted to get back into organising those kind of events then?
I'd love to do another one. I think, and I was talking to Paul about it the other day. We were reminiscing, and I'd definitely do another one. They were such of high quality. I'm not just saying that because we did them. We got them to such a high level. And when you think of some of the artists that we've had perform at these events, some of the top performers from the music world, which also helped sell the tickets. Obviously, that was a huge help.
But
Go on.
it
Sorry.
also seems to no. So I love jumping in. I always love interrupting people, as Darren knows. So apologies. But also I was going to say these massive artists are also now from selling tickets to the ball, but they're now being used to kind of sell tickets to F1. And if you look at the grid now, the grid walk before the race, it is absolutely littered with celebs. Martin Brundle has a job. I mean, when he's not getting ignored or pushed away by security guards, I mean, literally throw a dart and there's someone from music or art or acting. I mean, Las Vegas was probably the biggest example of that this year. How have you seen it, and what do you feel about this now that F1 really is a big entertainment spectacle, maybe similar to how WWE has become for wrestling?
I think it's fantastic now. I think that I think obviously that the Netflix series Drive to Survive has had a huge impact in bringing a whole new audience to Formula One, particularly the younger generations. It's funny. My kids, when I was traveling and going to Formula One races, and I'd say goodbye to them, I'd say, don't forget to put the Grand Prix on this weekend, sort of, yeah, Dad, of course we will. Of course they never did. They never even were interested in watching it. Of course, now they've watched the Netflix series and they're even tuning in to watch the free practice sessions. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
And I think that's true of a lot of that generation now. It's created a huge new fan base for them. So I think they've been very clever there. And I think the entertainment side of people love to see these people, don't they, on the grid? The famous, basketball players, whatever they might be, the people we don't normally see in this country, and the film stars. It's what Formula One has always been about and should be about, because it's always had that glamour. And it's the most popular sport in the world. There is no other sport like Formula One for glamour.
Totally agree. And these actors and music stars, what Formula One realizes, they are now bringing their own social media platforms to Formula One. So just literally a selfie on the grid and going out on their platforms is just like massive. And I think, guys, I'm sorry about this pinging. I've no idea how to switch it off. So it'll be
Charlie
be
and
featured.
I are professionals, Darren.
Come on, Darren.
Oh, boys, I do my best. That's all I can say.
I think Charlie's going to be available for more podcasts next year.
So my voice is going. Charlie, there's one other note I wanted to ask you. Now, Joe and I, we're both big Formula One fans. We both love working in Formula One as well and having our own little stresses of the weekend. But also, we're big James Bond fans as well. And I see you've got a little note about something that Simon Le Bon, who sang the theme tune to A View to a Kill, did at a Grand Prix Ball as well. So I'm interested to know about that, because anybody that sung a Bond theme for me is as big as a Formula One driver.
1985.
Correct.
Yeah, we had it was at Silverstone. We had Tony Hadley was up singing, and it wasn't Spandau, it was just him and his band at the time. And Simon Le Bon was a guest of Eddie's actually at the Ball, and he was there with Yasmin, and he was supporting the charity actually as well. He was very much involved with Click, I think, at the time. Anyway, and unbeknown to any of us, Simon just disappeared from the table, and the next minute he appeared on stage with Tony, and the two of them had planned all this, hadn't told any of us, and they got up and sang the song together, and then the place went mad because it was just so unexpected, impromptu, and and things like that at the Ball was what we loved. We had a lot of stuff like that happen, and in fact, we had in Monaco, we had something similar happen. We had Wycliffe Jean was playing on the stage, and next minute, Bono had come in to the Ball at about 10 o'clock with some of our sponsors, and anyway, Wycliffe, and next minute, Wycliffe's off the stage with his guitar on the table playing guitar while Bono's singing sitting down. I think he's singing the Redemption Song or something like that in the middle of the ballroom. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, you just couldn't. In fact, the following day, I think it was the Financial Times, Saturday Financial Times, had a picture of this on the front page of Wycliffe and Bono singing at the Grand Prix Ball at Monaco.
I heard that he's going to be at Abu Dhabi Grand Prix next year.
Really?
Yeah, he's gone until November.
Oh wow!
No,
it's a Wycliffe. It's a Wycliffe joke.
That's his famous song, "Gone Till November." Oh,
I didn't know.
Wrong crowd.
Oh no, I didn't know either.
Edit that out.
It's a great tune. It's a great tune.
So talking about all these big artists, and it actually makes me feel a bit inadequate thinking, well, Bjorn again at the Grand Prix Ball, you know, you've got these amazing names and you had us one year. But I remember standing on stage. Go on.
We upped the ante after you, mate.
Oh, is that what you did?
he had budget then.
All I did when I was playing on that stage was I just looked out and I could see Alain Prost and Ken Tyrrell, Johnny Herbert, and I was just in my total element. I can't remember one note I played on that gig, Charlie, at all. But it was a dream come true for me. But also, you know, with these big artists, they do this F1 Rocks events now, don't they? Where they put massive festival stages in after the show, and I know in Abu Dhabi they had Shania Twain on the Saturday, and Joe went to actually see the Foo Fighters, didn't you, Joe? On the Sunday after the race, and these are just massive events in their own right. And Charlie, I'm sure it's all because of, let's say, what EJ was doing in the early '90s that you then turned into a glamorous ball to what has now turned into this massive rock festival. You know, the journey of it all, I think, is fascinating within the world of music.
Probably spawned things like Amber Lounge and things which, you know, were in Monaco and Abu Dhabi. Is that right? Would you say, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these things. I think the two, music and motorsport, go so well together. You know, the two it's a perfect fit, isn't it? And I'm amazed it hadn't, you know, when we first started the ball, no one was doing it. It was extraordinary. We lucked out, you know, no one was doing it. We stumbled across it and created it and took it on. And, you know, it was there for the taking, really, but no one did it. And as you say, now it's huge. You know, you look at Abu Dhabi and some of the artists they've had, I mean, massive names. From Guns N' Roses, The Killers, you know, some big names now.
Abu Dhabi was my first Grand Prix actually that I went to, and that year was the Who. I mean, unbelievable. And we played Magic Bus, which was very strong.
Well, we had James Brown one year playing Monaco, and I'll quickly tell you a funny story. We had James Brown and we, you know, the Monte Carlo Sporting Club, most beautiful venue. Don't know if you've ever been, but we holds about 600 people sitting down for dinner. And we got to the main part of the evening, which was James Brown about to come on stage, and I'm in the room sitting with my sponsor, and we're just waiting for the big build-up. And this chap comes out on the stage. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome the godfather of soul, Mr. James?" And then the drummer would go play this sort of drum roll for like 20 seconds. Anyway, we would then expect James Brown to walk out on the stage, but this went on for about 15 minutes. And I'm thinking, this isn't right. There's something not right here. Anyway, sure enough, there wasn't something right. And little did we know that going on behind the stage, we had a wonderful girl work for us at the time called Naomi, and she looked after all our logistics, and she was brilliant, amazing lady. And she was trying to get James Brown to go on stage with his tour manager. The tour manager was having none of it because the luggage bus that we'd sent to the airport to pick up all their kit, which was, I mean, huge. You know, imagine the amount of stuff they brought. Was not the right size, and they had to put some stuff in a taxi and all this sort of stuff. So he wasn't prepared for James Brown to go on stage until we had got the suitable transport arranged and thereby had paid for this up front, whatever it was. Anyway, Naomi was just, she said, well, we can't do that now. He said, well, look, I tell you what, give me your engagement ring and your watch and I'll allow James to go on stage. So the poor girl had to give him her engagement ring and her watch. And then eventually he appeared. And I was blissfully unaware of what was going on.
This
Till after.
is like the 70s Peter Grant kind of manager stories. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I hope she still gets a Christmas card.
Very much so.
Well, these stories have been amazing. I mean, obviously, we love music. We're musicians. We work at events. This is a great marriage. I'm so happy I finally got to meet you, Charlie. And I really look forward to meeting you in the flesh. Or Dubai. We should do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. It's been a great pleasure meeting you and Darren. I mean, mate, he played for us in Monaco this year on the boat, and blew the place to smithereens. What a refreshing thing it was to have. So many of the boats in Monaco, they have the same old thing going on. It's the DJ banging out the same old stuff, and we had some sophistication. Is probably the best way of describing it.
You said it, not me. I just do my thing, Charlie. Just do my thing.
It was brilliant. I mean, wonderful, Joe. You'll come next year, hopefully, anyway. But the piano set up on the top deck of the yacht in Monaco.
Oh yeah. With
him playing with that backdrop. I mean, it doesn't get better, does it, mate? Doesn't get better.
Charlie, it was brilliant. I say we did it in Abu Dhabi as well, but I have to say Monaco definitely had the backdrop. Abu Dhabi, I sort of had the bar behind me with a TV screen this time. So I was looking at the W Hotel, and there was a red flag in FP2, and as the sun was coming down, and I thought, do you know what? I need to get on the piano and entertain whilst there's this red flag. So anyway, so I did that, and then they basically did a green light about 15 minutes into my set, and I should have stopped, but I was there basically playing whatever I was playing, something, I don't know, Tiny Dancer by Elton John or whatever I was playing, and these F1 cars were just coming by in front of me, and I was serenading these cars, and for me, again, it was like this dream country of the W Hotel all lit up, the sun going down, Formula One cars in front. That was my audience. I wasn't worried about any of the guests in the slightest. It was amazing. And literally, Charlie, the following day, I started up and I kicked into Rocket Man, didn't I, Joe? And whoever the UAE Air Force display team are, like the Red Arrows, they just started up and they just literally came over the top of the yacht with me singing Rocket Man. And I just thought, like that happened for me, and it's dreams come true. You talk about all the big rock stars and things happening. They're impromptu things that you can never create. And this is the magic of events, really, any type of event. You don't know what's going to happen, but if you can bring the right people together in the right situations, you honestly, for me, dreams have come true. And Charlie, I have to thank you for that. And Joe, I have to thank you for that too, as well, with all the Paddock Club work. So it's boys, this is great to have you both here.
It's so true that the impromptu stuff is what makes things like that thing that happened with Tony Hadley and Simon Le Bon and with Bono and we used to have, as the Bulls would start, we would get a few drivers would come to the events, but literally for half an hour, because their sponsors would use one of their sponsor appearances to come and be part of it. And it was great for us to have a few drivers knocking around, so we'd always create a driver's activity, but we never really, again, we did it by the seat of our pants, really. And one we did at Silverstone was we had this Dodgem car set up, and we had David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert, Frenson, Fisichella. I think we had Jos Verstappen in a Dodgem car, and we sold places to people to sit with a Formula One driver.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And they paid lots of money to do this. And then, but the competition was that the person who bought the place to sit next to the driver, the Formula One driver was driving the Dodgem car, he had to hold a jug of water, right? Now, imagine doing that these days. So a jug of water in a Dodgem car.
Health and safety. Yes.
Absolutely. And we had all these you know, these hugely, expensive Formula One drivers driving the dodgem cars, water flying everywhere. It was
electrified dodgems as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh,
Totally. I mean, they all lived.
they all lived. Yeah,
It was stuff like that we just created these fun things for these Formula One drivers to do, which people had never seen happen before. And you can't do that anymore, sadly. But that was being able to do that in those days was a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Well, it's so amazing that you've been involved with that and entertaining audiences all these years, and we doff our cap, Charlie. And we thank you so much for taking out the time. Quickly, what are you up to these days? I mean, is there anything you want to tell the audience what you're up to, and anything that you've got to promote?
Not really. We're planning for next year's Grand Prix, particularly Monaco and Abu Dhabi, because that's where we can have our own yacht. And we'll obviously be utilising the services of the man in the middle there. And fun enough, it's this year we seem to have the same people wanting to come back, which is great. So we haven't really had to sort of try and sell any places. It's people are ringing us saying, can we please book on the boat and come and have a fun weekend, which is what it's all about, really. And we just want people to come and have a good time. And I think Monaco particularly is, it's seen to be the jewel in the crown, isn't it? But I think the thing I love about Monaco, it's a bit like doing the Grand Prix Ball. I love the kick I used to get out of it was seeing people have a great time. And I think Monaco is a bit like that probably 75% of the people come to Monaco not to watch the racing. They come because of the whole atmosphere of the place. And there is in that harbour an incredible atmosphere, Darren, isn't there? It's a unique experience. And
well, it's unbelievable. And you said it's the jewel in the crown, so everybody is at the peak of their enjoyment, really, because everybody, when you're going, if anybody's ever just driven through Monaco on holiday, you're just there and you can go drive around the hairpin and under the tunnel, and there's just these iconic worlds of Formula One history. To be there is so exciting, let alone having the events and everything put on to build it up and up and up. And the big showcase obviously is the race, but it's just one massive party, basically. But my favorite memory, Charlie, is getting the speedboat in every morning into the circuit. We didn't turn up by taxi, we turned up by speedboat, and it was just awesome, mate.
Yeah, it's a special place, and I think people definitely create memories going there, and I've seen it for many. I've done the Monaco Grand Prix now for 28 years, and I still to this day love seeing the look on people's faces who've never been before as they're coming on into the harbour on the tender, and they look up.
That could be me. That could be me, Charlie. I've not seen it yet. I've not been.
Yeah,
if you want to see that again, you know what to do.
Yeah, but you'll be lugging his equipment.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Reeves. Yes, Mr. Reeves. No, look down. Don't look up. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, if we do that, we get it all going, we'll do an episode from the boat and we'll get you on there with some other guests who come on. But I think it's been amazing to hear these stories. Thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us. We always say take care at the end. We always say take care at the end. Let's see if we can do it in unison. So we'll do a goodbye from us and then we'll say take care. It's a little funny thing we do. Join us for our next F1 story with a special guest, which we haven't revealed yet, but I'm sure it will come soon. And certainly once we get through Charlie's Rolodex, we're going to have plenty more people to talk about F1 with. But for now, it's bye from me, Joe Lee.
And it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves, and Charlie Feather. Take care.
Take care.
We messed it up completely, boys, but that's part of the plan. Right, let's do one more time. This is it, mate. This is it.
Right, okay, here we go. So bye from me, Joe Lee.
It's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves.
Goodbye from me, Charlie Feather. Take care.
Take care.